The invisible master of the mind. Have you ever stopped to think about who really governs your life? Maybe you feel in control, believing that every choice is the result of your conscious will. But what if I told you that there is an invisible master inside you, controlling your impulses, shaping your thoughts, and determining even your most intimate decisions? This master has a name: lust. Lust doesn't suddenly appear as an outright tyrant. It infiltrates little by little. First as curiosity, then as habit, and soon as necessity. You wake up thinking you're in control, but in reality you're already serving it. Every click, every search, every minute lost in front of a screen is not just a pastime. It's obedience. It's you responding to the call of something that deep down you didn't choose rationally, but allowed to become the owner of your mind. Think with me. When you feel that almost uncontrollable impulse, who is in charge there? Is it you consciously making a mature decision? Or is it desire, stomping its foot like a spoiled child demanding candy? That's the difference between being free and being a slave. A free man may feel desire but decides clearly whether to give in or not. A slave man obeys without thinking just because the body asked. And maybe you're at that point now, living as a servant to something that doesn't even pay rent inside your mind. Pornography is the perfect weapon of lust because it disguises itself as cheap pleasure, as immediate relief, but in practice acts as an invisible shackle. You don't see it, but you're trapped. You don't hear chains clinking, but they're there, dragging you away from what you could be. Don't fall into the deception of thinking this is an exaggeration. See how your energy drops after a pornography session. See how your confidence disappears, how your gaze changes, how your motivation evaporates. This is no coincidence. It's the mark of the invisible master acting on you. It sucks your vitality, undermines your willpower, and leaves you believing that you're just relaxing. But deep down, it's just another proof that you're being governed by something that should be under your command. And that's why this episode is so important. Today, we're not just going to talk about addiction. We're going to talk about slavery and freedom, about how you, modern man, may be living chained without realizing it, and about how it's possible to break those chains one by one to recover what has always been yours by right, dominion over yourself. Plato said that whoever does not govern their desires is not truly free. Epictetus reinforced that no man can call himself master while he is a slave to his passions. And Seneca warned that pleasure without measure turns into poison. All these men, centuries ago, already pointed to the same danger that you face now. The difference is that today the enemy has a digital face, has fiber optic speed, and lives inside your pocket, in the cell phone you carry all the time. So let me ask you, are you really in control? Or are you just obeying orders you don't recognize? This is the turning point we need to face together. Because admitting that lust governs is the first step to dethroning it. If you've been in this series from the beginning, you know that each day is a battle, but also an opportunity to recover territory within your own mind. Today will be no different. So take advantage now. Subscribe to the channel now because each new chapter is another weapon you can carry against this invisible enemy. And leave in the comments what day of the journey you are on. It doesn't matter if it's day 1 or day 30. Sharing this is publicly admitting that you no longer accept being a slave, because the truth is simple. You were not born to serve lust. You were born to govern yourself, and that's what we're going to talk about today. What it means to be a slave to lust. Being a slave to lust is not about wearing iron chains or being behind bars. It's about obeying without thinking. It's waking up and already feeling that the mind pulls you to the same habit. It's opening the cell phone, and even before deciding consciously, already being surrounded by triggers, clicks, and stimuli that push you into the pornography cycle. It's living believing that you have a choice, when in reality, you are just reacting to internal commands that you don't master. The slavery of lust is subtle. It doesn't shout, "I'm your owner," but whispers, "Just one more time." It's desire disguised as relief, presenting itself as a reward after a difficult day. But in practice, each "just one more time" is a new link in the chain. Each time you give in, the desire gets stronger, and your freedom gets more distant. And you know what's most cruel? It's that this prison is invisible. You look in the mirror and seem free, You go out on the street, work, talk, laugh, but inside you are handcuffed. The invisible master commands, and you obey. This is the trap. Living believing that you still have control, when in fact, control has been taken a long time ago. That's why many men spend years trapped without even realizing it. Only when they look back, they realize how much they lost. Energy, time, opportunities, relationships, even self-esteem. Lust doesn't warn that it will charge dearly. It only promises immediate pleasure. But the price comes later, silent, corroding from the inside out. The good news is that every chain can be broken. And the first step is to recognize that it exists. Many don't admit it because they are ashamed. They think, it's not that serious, it's just a silly habit. But it's precisely this thought that keeps the man enslaved. Because as long as you don't see the gravity, you don't fight seriously. Being a slave to lust is living reacting. Being free is living choosing. That's the difference that changes everything. The modern prison of pornography. In the past, men spoke of lust as something that manifested in parties, drinks, forbidden encounters. It was dangerous but limited. Today, lust has found its most powerful weapon: digital pornography. It has no time, no limit, no apparent cost. It's available 24 hours a day, one click away. It's the perfect prison because it's comfortable. Pornography is a chain without walls. You enter voluntarily, believing that you will leave when you want. Only each time you return, the bars get higher. The brain begins to associate pleasure only with that artificial stimulus, and little by little, the real world loses its grace. Real relationships seem laborious, conquests seem slow, life seems colorless, because all dopamine has already been hijacked by the screen. This is the most cruel trick of the modern prison. It doesn't force you, it convinces you. You feel free, but you are handcuffed. You feel that you can stop when you want, but you keep repeating the cycle. It's as if it were a cell without a padlock, but whose prisoner lost the strength to leave. And see how technology has potentiated this. Algorithms learn your tastes, offer increasingly specific suggestions, feed the cycle until you don't even realize that you spent hours trapped. There is no more natural limit. Desire finds infinite stimulus, and the man loses the sense of moderation. This is digital slavery, an invisible master fueled by artificial intelligence, by clicks, by images designed to capture your attention. Never before has lust had so much power over men, and never has it been so urgent to resist. Impacts on masculinity. Pornography doesn't just steal time, it steals the very essence of masculinity. And when I talk about masculinity, I'm not talking about stereotypes or cliches. I'm talking about vital energy, confidence, posture, the ability to look in the eyes and inspire respect without having to say a word. How many times after a relapse have you felt weaker, more insecure, more closed in on yourself? This is no coincidence. The brain, after surrendering to lust, releases not only dopamine, but a sequence of chemical responses that drain energy, reduce testosterone temporarily, and leave you with that invisible weight on your shoulders. Suddenly, the man who could be firm becomes hesitant. Masculinity is built on top of discipline. When you don't control your impulses, that discipline unravels, and along with it, your self-confidence. There's no use pretending. Women notice, friends notice, even you notice in the mirror. The look changes, the posture changes, the energy that should be used to create, work, fight for your goals ends up being thrown down the drain. And here is the central point. Lust not only steals your physical energy, but steals your presence in the world. A man addicted to pornography has difficulty imposing himself, being respected, because inside he knows that he is chained. He may even raise his voice, may even try to appear confident, but the internal slavery always leaks. That's why so many men report that, after days or weeks without pornography, they begin to feel a radical transformation. Firmer voice, more erect posture, more intense gaze. It's not magic. It's the return of the natural masculine energy that was being drained. Masculinity is not just about muscles or appearance, it's about leadership of oneself. And if you can't lead even your most basic desires, how will you lead in other areas of life? Pornography addiction turns the man into a hidden servant, unable to take the place he should occupy. And perhaps this is the harshest warning. Each time you give in, you deliver not only minutes of your life, but also pieces of your masculinity. The good news is that it can be recovered. Each day of resistance is like rebuilding the foundations of your confidence. Impacts on relationships. Now let's talk about something that may hurt even more: relationships. Pornography doesn't just destroy you, it destroys the way you connect with others, especially in the field of intimacy. When you get used to artificial stimuli, you start to expect real life to work the same way. But true relationships are not like edited videos, with perfect cuts and infinite novelties. They require patience, presence, vulnerability. And for those who live chained by lust, all this seems too difficult. Many men begin to feel less desire for real partners. The mind, trained to always seek the most extreme and immediate stimulus, loses the ability to be enchanted by the simple. Hugs seem less intense. Conversations seem less interesting. Human touch loses its strength in front of the screen, and it doesn't stop there. Pornography also creates unrealistic expectations. What you see in the videos is not true intimacy, it's theater. They are enactments created to capture attention, not to build connection. But by consuming this daily, your brain begins to think that this is the standard. And when real life doesn't correspond, you feel frustrated. Result? Relationships begin to crumble. Partners feel rejected, not sufficient. Trust breaks down. And you, trapped in the cycle, end up seeking more pornography as compensation. It's a vicious circle that slowly corrodes the possibility of genuine love. If you are single, the impact is also profound. The insecurity generated by addiction makes it difficult to approach someone. The fear of rejection increases. And even when you manage to start something, the mind is so conditioned to the artificial that it becomes difficult to enjoy the real. This is the naked truth. Lust, when it governs, steals intimacy. It steals the chance to build deep connections, to live experiences that really strengthen the heart. In place of that, it delivers only loneliness disguised as pleasure. But there is a way back. Each day without pornography is also a chance to re-educate the heart, to relearn to value human touch, true conversation, the bond that grows slowly but is real. Recovering relationships requires discipline, but also requires courage to break the cycle and make room for real life. Lust and stolen ambition. Lust doesn't just attack your masculinity and your relationships, it also corrodes your ambition, your sense of purpose, your ability to dream and fight for something bigger. And this may be the most silent blow, because few realize until they have already lost years of productive life. Think with me, how much energy have you already spent on this addiction? How many hours have gone away in clicks, searches, repeated videos? Now imagine if all that energy had been used to learn a skill, build a project, improve your body, strengthen your mind. Where would you be today? Lust acts like a night thief. It doesn't steal everything at once, but in small installments. It steals your willingness to get up early. It steals your motivation to train. It steals your courage to face challenges. Little by little, it drains every spark of ambition that could take you to greater places. And the worst is that it doesn't just steal time. It steals the vision of the future. The man trapped in lust starts to live only in the immediate present, seeking the next discharge of pleasure. Long-term plans seem too distant. Bold goals seem unattainable, because the brain gets used to seeking quick reward and loses patience for real achievements. This is the real danger, giving up dreaming. Many men don't realize it, but they are giving up on themselves. They are trading years of growth for minutes of cheap pleasure, and when they wake up to this reality, they have already lost a decade. But here is the reflection that can change your trajectory. All this time doesn't need to be lost forever. Each day of resistance is like recovering a piece of your ambition. It's like rekindling the flame that was extinguished. You don't need to be a slave to small impulses when you were born to conquer great things. Lust wants a man without purpose, without ambition, trapped in the cycle. But each conscious choice, each firm no, is a brick placed in the reconstruction of your future. The slave mind creates excuses. Perhaps what most binds a man to the cycle of lust is not even pornography itself, but the excuses he creates to continue. They appear disguised as innocent justifications. Just one more time, then I'll stop. Better this than looking for someone wrong. Everyone does it, there's no problem. But in reality, each of these phrases is an invisible chain, heavier than any iron shackle. Have you ever noticed how your mind always finds a loophole? When you are tired, the excuse appears. When you are stressed, it appears. When you are happy, it appears too. I'm going to celebrate. It's as if the brain itself, accustomed to addiction, worked against you, inventing reasons to never leave the cycle. These excuses are treacherous because they seem reasonable at the moment, but later, the truth appears. You realize that you fell into the same hole as always, and this corrodes your self-esteem. You start to feel weak, incapable, trapped in a pattern that repeats day after day. Epictetus, who spoke so much about inner freedom, would say that this is the real enemy, not the desire itself, but the lie we tell ourselves. Because when you believe in the excuses, you hand over the power of your life to the addiction. You stop being master and become servant. But there is a key here: start recognizing these phrases as what they really are: chains. Each time the excuse arises, you can ask yourself, is this true, or is it just another chain trying to hold me back? Just this simple act of questioning already weakens the power of the lie. The slave mind creates excuses. The free mind creates solutions. And the difference between one and the other is in the choice you make at the moment of temptation. History is full of men who understood the danger of lust and chose to live differently. Warriors, monks, philosophers. They all knew that uncontrolled desire was a greater enemy than any external battle. The Spartans, for example, trained their young men to master their bodies and minds. They knew that a warrior enslaved by desires would never be able to win on the battlefield. The external enemy was dangerous, but the internal enemy was even more lethal. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, wrote that the man who indulges in pleasure without limits is like a ship without a rudder. It may even float, but it is adrift, at the mercy of any wave. He saw self-control not as imprisonment, but as the only form of true freedom. Even in Eastern traditions, we see the same teaching. Buddhist monks practiced rigorous discipline, often avoiding any form of sexual stimulation, not because they despised pleasure itself, but because they knew that this pleasure could become a cruel master. For them, controlling desire was preserving vital energy, the strength that could be used for enlightenment or for great deeds. These examples are not just ancient stories, they are reminders that the fight against lust is universal and timeless. Men from different cultures, eras, and beliefs have come to the same conclusion. Those who do not master their desires are dominated by them. Today, pornography is just the modern version of this enemy, a more sophisticated, more accessible, more addictive version. But the solution remains the same: discipline, courage, and wisdom. And you, who are on day 13 of this journey, are part of that same lineage of men who decided to fight against the most treacherous enemy of all: unbridled desire. The power of resisting as an act of liberation. Resisting may seem at the time just a small gesture: closing a tab, putting down the cell phone, getting out of bed, and changing the environment. But make no mistake, each of these acts is a declaration of freedom. It's as if you were breaking a link in the invisible chain that lust has placed around your neck. Many men underestimate the strength of a single no. They think they will only be free when they have been months or years without relapses. But the truth is that freedom begins with the first conscious no. Every time you refuse to obey the impulse, even if for a few minutes, you prove to yourself that you are not a complete slave. You can choose, you can say no. That is the power of discipline, transforming small gestures into great victories. Because accumulated, they build a new identity. Suddenly you are no longer the man who always gave in. You begin to see yourself as someone capable of resisting, someone who is in control. And the impact goes beyond pornography. With each act of resistance, you strengthen an invisible muscle that also helps in other areas. At work, in studies, in relationships. Resisting sexual impulse becomes training to resist procrastination, discouragement, anger. You become more whole, more free, more master of yourself. Therefore, never underestimate the importance of resisting today. It may seem small, It may seem insignificant, but each no is a hammer blow on the chains that bind you, and over time you realize freedom does not come suddenly. It is built step by step, decision by decision. Resisting is above all an act of liberation. So far we have talked about slavery, invisible chains, and the power of resisting. But I want you to reflect with me, because this fight is not just theoretical. It happens every day in silence inside your mind. Think carefully. Who governs your life today? Is it you, with clarity, firmness, and purpose? Or is it desire, hidden behind excuses, catching you in moments of weakness? This question may seem simple, but it is profound. Because if you answer honestly, you may realize that you are not yet in command. You may see that there are still chains holding you back. On your cell phone, in your nighttime habits, in the triggers you have not cut off. And admitting this is not a sign of weakness. It is the first step towards true freedom. Pornography, in the end, does not just want a few minutes of your time. It wants your life. It wants your most productive hours, your most vital energy, your most authentic confidence. And when you give this away without realizing it, it's as if you were paying a very high price for a cheap pleasure. Now it's your turn. Tell me in the comments, do you govern your desires, or do you feel that you are still governed by them? You don't need to embellish, you don't need to be ashamed. Write simply in your own way. Because when you make it public, when you put it into words, you take the addiction out of the shadows and expose it to the light. That is the commitment I want from you today. Practical strategies to regain freedom. Talking about invisible chains is important, but it's useless if you don't have tools to break them. And here, practice is what counts. Therefore, I will give you some simple but powerful strategies to regain your freedom. First, journaling. Writing every day, even if it's just 2 sentences. Put on paper how you are feeling. What were the moments of temptation? What were the victories? It seems small, but it's like creating a map of your mind. You begin to see patterns, triggers, and even realize how you are evolving. Second, cold shower. It's not a trend, it's science. The shock of cold water teaches your body to deal with discomfort. Every time you get under it, you practice the art of not immediately obeying what the body asks for, and that transfers directly to nofap. Third, digital discipline. If you know that your cell phone at night is a trap, take it out of the room. Block websites, install control apps. Don't expect willpower to solve everything. Create an environment that favors your victory. Fourth, meditation or prayer. Call it what you want, but take a few minutes a day to silence your mind. This strengthens the ability to observe your impulses without being carried away by them. And lastly, physical movement. Gym, running, brisk walking. It doesn't matter. The body in motion drains accumulated energy, reduces anxiety, and shows that you can direct your strength to something productive. These strategies are not insurmountable walls, but they are practical tools. If you use at least 2 or 3 every day, you will notice the difference in weeks. Freedom does not come suddenly. It is built in everyday life, in small habits. Applied Stoic philosophy. Now let's go back to philosophy, because it gives the background to this fight. The Stoics, especially Epictetus and Seneca, always said that true freedom is not in doing everything you want, but in not being a slave to your desires. Think about it. How many times have you confused freedom with license? Did you think that being free was being able to open your cell phone at any time, see what you wanted, give in whenever you felt like it? But the result of this was the opposite. Instead of freedom, you gained chains. Epictetus would say that you cannot control the external world, but you can control your choices. And pornography is exactly that, something external that you don't need to let govern your interior. The decision to resist is in your field of power. Seneca, in turn, warned about the danger of excess. For him, nothing destroys the soul more than living running after immediate pleasures. And if we think about today's world, there has never been so much supply of instant pleasure as now. But there have also never been so many men tired, drained, and without purpose. Stoic philosophy is clear. Virtue above pleasure. Pleasure is fleeting. Virtue is lasting. Pleasure depends on circumstances. Virtue depends only on you. When you choose to resist the impulse, you are not just avoiding pornography. You are choosing to live according to principles that make your life stronger, more whole, more true. Applying Stoicism here is not quoting beautiful phrases, it is acting. It is putting into practice what they taught 2,000 years ago: discipline, courage, and self-control. It is remembering every day that true freedom is internal. Call to freedom. You don't need another beautiful speech. You need a clear call. Either you continue obeying the impulse and handing over your life in installments, or you decide that from today you will no longer be a servant of lust. There is no middle ground. Lust accepts concessions as a seed. You give an inch, it occupies yards. You promise that it will only be today, only for 5 minutes. And when you realize it, the week is gone, your energy is gone, and your respect for yourself too. That is the hidden cost. It doesn't appear on the statement, but it weighs on your chest, in your eyes, in the strength to live. Freedom is not a feeling that falls from the sky on an inspired morning. Freedom is a work of construction, brick by brick, decision by decision. You don't become a free man when the will passes. You become free when you decide not to obey it. That is the part that no one likes to hear, because it hurts. It hurts to be alone with your own emotions without anesthesia. It hurts to face anxiety without running to the screen. It hurts to go to sleep without the shortcut you used for years. But it is exactly in this pain that your will is forged. Pain without escape becomes strength. Pain with escape becomes repeated weakness. Look back honestly. How many times have you said last time? How many times did you know that you were trading an entire future for a few minutes and even so clicked? That doesn't define who you are. It only defines how much the habit has hijacked your autopilot. The good news is simple. Habit is not destiny. Habit is a trail in the mind. If you stop walking the old trail and start opening a new one, nature does the rest. The weeds grow on top of the old path, the new path firms up. It's science and it's practice, but it requires what almost no one wants to give: constancy. Epictetus, who started life as a slave and ended up teaching free men inside, would put before you the simplest and most difficult question: what is under your control now? It is under your control to close the tab. It is under your control to get out of bed, drink water, walk, call someone. It is under your control to put your cell phone out of the room, leave blockers active, organize the night. The past, the desire that has already screamed, the memory that has appeared are not under your control. Whoever lives running after what they don't control loses the energy they would need to act on what they control. Recognize the border and fight on the right side of the wall. You are not a broken machine. You are a man in repair. Repairs require silence, time, method, and humility. Silence to listen to your own conscience without the noise of the videos. Time for the brain to rebalance dopamine levels and relearn to feel pleasure in what is simple. Method to repeat routines that protect you when the will attacks. Humility to accept that today you need barriers that yesterday you didn't need, and that's okay. Misplaced pride prevents healing. Right humility accelerates liberation. Take an inventory of losses, not to blame yourself, but to remember why the fight is worth it. How many hours are gone? How many projects were left unfinished? How many conversations did you avoid because you didn't feel whole? How many mornings started late, heavy, empty? Don't hide this from yourself. Put it on paper, name it. The brain respects what is measured. When temptation comes to whisper that it's okay, you will have facts to answer. It's okay, yes, it cost dearly. And I don't pay that price anymore. Now look ahead. What kind of man do you want to be in 90 days? Describe in detail. It's no use saying, I want to be better. Write, wake up without shame, train with energy, produce with focus, look in the eyes with presence. Write what you will do as soon as you wake up, what you will do in critical hours, how you will close the night. Your future needs to be written with such clarity that when desire appears, it seems small compared to what you are building. Identity is not born from vague promises. It is born from clear routines. Yes, there will be bad days. There will be tense dawns, intrusive thoughts, memories that appear out of nowhere. There will be relapses, perhaps, and when they come, you will not hand over your crown again. You will get up on the same day, adjust the plan, close more doors, ask for help. That is how free men act. They do not negotiate with defeat. The addiction wants you to equate fall with definitive failure. Discipline understands fall as data from the process and returns to the battle the next morning. Exchange fragile phrases for firm decrees. Instead of "I'll try," say "Today I don't negotiate." Instead of "I hope to have strength," say "My actions create my strength." Instead of "Just today," say "Only over my purpose." Words shape posture. Posture shapes choices. And repeated choices shape destiny. You are not what you feel. You are what you decide despite what you feel. Don't fight in the dark. Say out loud that you are in this war. Comment down here. Tell the day of your journey. Look for an accountability partner. The addiction hates witnesses. The secret is the greenhouse where it grows. Light kills the mold. Shame shrinks when you face it. And when other men see your decision, their courage also ignites. Freedom is personal, but the fight is collective. Finally, remember, freedom is not absence of desire. Freedom is government over desire. It's not never feeling like it again. It's never being commanded by it again. When the will comes today, receive it as a sign of training. Breathe, get up, move, change the environment. Read aloud the reason for this journey. Do whatever it takes, but don't hand over the throne. You were born to command what you feel, not to obey. This is the call to freedom. Difficult, repeated, daily choice. The world doesn't need more men tamed by a screen. It needs men who, even trembling, remain standing. If it is to fall, let it be forward, already getting up. If it is to fight, let it be now. If it is to decide, let it be definitive. Today, lust does not govern. Today, you govern. You need to hear this with all honesty. No one will cross that door for you. No video, no mentor, no miraculous promise. Lust doesn't ask for permission. It enters, takes the space, and behaves like the owner of the house. And the more you concede, the more it settles in. There is only one point at which it recedes, when it finds a man who, even trembling, decides to stand up and say with whatever voice he has, "Not today." That "not today" seems small, but it is an earthquake in the soul. It is the exact moment when you push the table, turn off the lights of the old room, and open the windows for the new air to enter. It's not pretty. It's not cinematic. It's sweaty, tense, silent, and it's real. Freedom doesn't appear with fireworks. It arrives in the form of hard choices repeated with intelligent stubbornness, 10 times a day, 100 times a week, until the mind learns again who is in charge. Think about what pornography has already taken. Hours that don't come back, lifeless mornings, nights when you promised yourself to be better and even so fell. Think about the conversations avoided, the look that flees, the guilt that weighs when the house silences. This doesn't define who you are, but it says a lot about who is governing. The question that decides your destiny is simple. Who gives the final order in there? You with your reason and purpose, or the desire with its short-term tricks? Today, the call is clear. Recover the government, not with speeches, but with acts. Close the door before the impulse is born. Leave the room when the mind starts to negotiate. Wash your face, walk, change the environment, lift your head. Do the basics that work: sleep, water, movement, routine, and real people. The addiction feeds on loneliness and screens without witnesses. Freedom grows in light, in presence, and in public commitment. There are 3 decisions that break chains. Stop postponing, stop negotiating, and start acting. Stop postponing means cutting the phrase, "I'll see later." Later is the hiding place of the same cycle as always. It is in the now that the chain breaks. Stop negotiating is to kill the half measures. Anonymous tab, just search, just look quickly. That is not control, it is a contract with relapse. And starting to act is simple. Move the body away from the trigger and the mind closer to the purpose. Write a line about why this fight matters today. Call someone. Go out on the street. Work for 15 minutes on what makes you grow. It's not heroism, it's intelligent survival. Maybe you feel unworthy of starting over. Maybe you carry memories that burn. Keep this. Shame doesn't clean anything. What cleans is responsibility. What heals is constancy. If you stumble, get up in the same minute. Without drama, without speech, without rehearsal. Get up, adjust the route, close the doors, and return to the fight. Whoever remains standing after the fall learns a strength that no shortcut offers. Look ahead. Imagine yourself in 90 days. You wake up and for the first time in a long time, you don't feel like you owe explanations to the mirror. There is energy in the body, firmness in the eyes, silence in the mind. Not because the temptation has disappeared, but because you have learned to tell it to sit down. You endure the discomfort, do what has to be done, and go to sleep with the dignity of someone who honored their own word. This future is real, and it starts with the decision you make today now. Epictetus would say, true freedom is not doing what you want, it is not being forced to do what shames your soul. And Marcus Aurelius would remind, the pleasure that drags is weak, the man who decides is strong. You were not born to bend your knees before the impulse. You were born to raise your head and choose what is difficult because it is right. So, here is the final ritual of this episode. Close your eyes for 2 seconds and declare in a low but firm voice, I do not belong to my lust. It is that has no place in me. Open your eyes and make a physical gesture that marks this commitment. Turn off a light, open the window, drink water, walk to the door. The body teaches the mind. The gesture anchors the decision. Now make it public. Write in the comments, day 13. It's not vanity, it's strategy. The addiction hates witnesses. When you expose yourself, the lie loses strength. And if this video reached you in the dark, remember, there is a legion marching together. Ordinary men with real fears building strength in practice. Break the chains today. Not out of pride, but out of love for your life. Not to prove something to the world, but to honor what is best in you. Close the right doors, open the right windows, choose the next right action. One step, then another, and one more. That is how freedom wins, in the humble repetition of what works. You are not a lost cause, you are a man in reconstruction. And beautiful reconstructions begin with a simple act, saying no to what corrodes you and yes to what strengthens you. Stand up. Today, you govern.